Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you on this day, the 26th day of December 2017, as we begin the countdown of closing out yet another year. I hope that this year has been one of progress, one of prosperity, one of abundance. But if it has not been, there's no need to panic, no need to become frenetic or unglued, simply a need to change your direction, change your expectations, raise your standards as it applies to what you demand of yourself, and lower your tolerance of excuses. And when you are able to do these things, the natural occurrence of progression will automatically ensue. So what I want to do is actually talk to you about some things. First and foremost, last week we kicked off the 30-day read and run challenge. The goal of the read and run challenge is simple. It is to start the process of developing a ritual of feeding your mind daily with a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes of reading. With that along comes running, which also contributes to the health balance of your holistic presence, which is your mind, your body, your emotions, your spiritual and psychological being. And you want to feed every area. You want to bring your body, your mind, your spirit, all into what I call equilibrium or balance or harmony, to where they are not only all healthy and operating, but working in sync with one another to create your reality. When you do that, you will find that you have a higher level of confidence. You will have a higher level of expectations. You will have a stronger sense of emotional, psychological, and physical endurance to take on all of the challenges, the vicissitudes, and unknown things that are just a part of life that tend to shake us up, get us discombobulated, and puts us in a situation where we tend to struggle to achieve our goals. So we're 7 days in for those who started. The wonderful thing about this is you can start at any point in time. Whenever you see this video or see any other of the promotional material that's supporting a 30-day read and run challenge, you start your challenge the day you make the commitment and you stick to it. Now remember, if you have any day that in which you don't read and run, or read and do some form of physical activity for at least 10 to 20 minutes per day, then you have to start over. What we're doing is we're creating rituals. Your life is the sum total of your rituals. Your rituals create your habits. Now, your thought processes are what's going to lead to what type of rituals you set, but you have to set rituals. Sometimes you can set rituals that will shape your thinking, and this is what we're doing now. You have thinking that create rituals, and then you can set rituals that automatically condition the mind to follow suit. Anything you practice, anywhere from 21 to 30 days will become a ritual, will become a habit, will become something that you will start to do automatically. The closer you get to that 21 to 30-day period, it will automatically become something you don't have to make yourself do. It will just be something that you will seek out in and of itself and do, and feel extremely awkward when it's not done. That's the type of habits. The way that you address poor habits is to starve the poor habits and feed new habits that you create that are counterintuitive to the habits you're getting rid of. So in other words, I just don't say, matter of fact, the one thing that I teach my clients is, if it's something you don't want to do, you don't consistently talk about it. You don't talk about, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to do this, I don't want to eat bad food, because whatever you fight the most persists. When you fight it hard, you persist. What you do is you simply identify what it is you don't want to do, and you starve it. You create new habits to replace it, and you create habits that are counterintuitive to it. So in other words, habits that just by doing it automatically negates it. And so you want to move opposite of what it is you're trying not to do by doing things that will automatically eliminate it. And for instance, you create an environment for success. So for instance, if you're struggling with your eating, don't put anything that you don't want to eat in your house. Stop eating out so much, because when you eat out, you have this temptation of things that are on that menu that you don't need. But when you stock your refrigerator, stock your pantry, stock it with things that are going to contribute to your health, eating healthier, make sure you have enough of everything you need to create the balance and the order and the regulatory manner in which you're going to eat, because eating in the process is important as well. You want to train your body to expect things at certain times. And the other thing is, you don't want things in the house that you don't need to eat, because the temptation is there. And it just seems that the things you shouldn't be eating are the easier things to get to. So when you get hungry, which is something you shouldn't allow yourself to do, when you get hungry, you just go grab the quickest thing to quench that. And it's normally something that's not good. So there are a bunch of other things to get to, but it's about preparing your environment. But you must replace poor habits with good habits. So you shop well to eat well in the grocery store. If you pick up things and you don't shop hungry, do not go to the grocery store hungry, because everything that you don't need looks better than the things you need. And they're quicker to get to and eat. And so that's one thing. But that 30-day challenge is off the chain. Something else we're going to talk about briefly going into this particular segment is your self-talk. There's a saying that says that your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program that it will run. Jim Kwik often says that your mind, never forget that your mind is eavesdropping on your self-talk. One of the things that I listen to when someone comes to me and say, hey, look, I've been trying to do this, I've been trying to do this, I've been trying to do this, and I'm not getting anywhere. You know, I'm working on my marriage and it's just not getting anywhere. I'm working on growing my business, but it's not getting anywhere. I'm working on building wealth and this organization, or anything that you find of value or worth. To me, my definition of success is really derived and adapted from a definition I heard a long time ago from Earl Nightingale that said that success is simply the progressive pursuit of a worthwhile goal, something that you look at and you deem worthy of energy, of effort, of sacrifice, a focus of a fixed gate. In other words, something that you're willing to commit yourself to and not relent from, and then see yourself moving toward it, is success. Success is not simply the hitting of a milestone or a goal, your 90-day goal, your 6-month goal, your 1-year goal. Success is not simply that. Success is when you look at your life, you have set these milestones, you have set and fixed in your mind a direction you're headed in, a point of destiny that will basically define your life. And when you measure your life daily, which you should be doing, examining yourself daily to see what you have accomplished the day before, then you find yourself having moved a little bit closer to that goal. You may not have hit the milestone, you may not have hit the 90-day goal, the 6-month goal, but you are progressing. That is success. And the reason I want you to define your success in micro progressions is because you need to celebrate your progressions as much as possible, which creates confidence. It creates an expectation to succeed. It creates a certain feeling of accomplishment, which is really important into setting the expectations long term of what you're going to demand of yourself out of life. If all you get to do is celebrate once or twice a year when you hit these goals, How many days are you going into that are going to be challenging, that you have not created the energy that comes from celebrating yourself to engage those challenges? The energy you need to take on life comes from your experiences and your expectations, but your expectations come from what you see and you interpret. If you're only to interpreting success as when you hit a milestone, what's happening those other 89 days before you hit your 90-day goal? And what are the chances of you hitting your 90-day goal if you're not making those daily celebrations and assessments to find out where you're at, to give yourself credit for what you've done right, as well as to make the necessary adjustments and things you've done wrong? And that's all a part of it. But you have to be able to make these moves. Well, when we talk about self-talk, when I look at the people who come to me, one of the biggest issues I find is self-talk. The story that you're telling yourself consistently over and over about yourself. I'm bad with money. I'm horrible in relationships. I don't know anything about business. I'm not going to be good at this. I'm horrible at remembering names. All of these things that may have some form of value in your life. Now, the first thing you have to do is you have to determine what you want out of life. And you have to set your values, your interests, and your principles. And those are the things that are going to guide your decisions, your values and interests and your principles and your beliefs as associated with them. So you can have all the values you want in the world that sets the parameters of your character. You can say that I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great wife. I want to be a business owner. I want to be wealthy. I want to be a good father. I want to be, you can have all of those things, a good mother, and all of those things. I want to be a servant in the community. You can have all those things as your values. That's going to be the parameters that determine your character. And then there is your integrity, which is the strength of your character. How well does your character stand up to pressure? And see, that's going to be determined by your beliefs. Now, if you can say, I want to be a good husband, but if there's something inside of you from your experiences in the past that says, I'm just not really good at relationships, or I'm just not really good in marriage, then you're going to operate within the scope of your beliefs. That's how we maintain our sanity. Whatever you set your beliefs at is what's going to make what you're going to find your behavior functioning at. Why? Because that's how we maintain our sanity. Imagine spending every day believing one thing and trying to do something else. That's why you never find people really truly investing a great deal of energy, effort, sacrifice, sweat, blood, and pain into something they don't believe will happen. Well, when you don't put that kind of sacrifice, that kind of effort, that kind of energy into what it is you're claiming that you want to do, you don't get the results. But then that turns out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you said in the beginning you didn't believe you could. So when you didn't believe you could, you didn't put the energy and the effort in, which meant you didn't get the results, which just told you you were right the first time, which actually turns out to produce a situation where you actually tried less harder, and you put less effort in, less energy, less sacrifice the next time around, and you get this cascading effects of which we call a downward spiral because of your beliefs. Well, your beliefs all are impacted by your self-talk. You have this unbelievable organic machine between your ears called your brain, and then you have this mind that is connected to your brain. Your brain is the supercomputer, your mind is the user, and they work in sync to create your reality. The problem is that the mind and the brain takes in everything. Your non-conscious brain and your subconscious mind processes every bit of 2 million bits of information per second. So things that are going on around you that you don't even recognize. Like right now, on one side of my screen, I have multiple screens up. On one side of the biggest screen, there's this ongoing cascade of stuff moving because the page I have it on has an automated page that's moving. There's another one over there sitting over there. Now, before I started thinking about what's going on around me, it was there, but it had no impact. I wasn't processing it consciously, but my unconscious mind picked it up, because the moment I started to tell my mind to find things, it found it. And that's the thing, I can direct what your mind is thinking now by what I'm saying. In your environment, there's something in your environment right you're not aware of. Maybe it's the clock that's ticking. If you've got an old-fashioned analog clock with hands, and that second hand is ticking, you didn't hear it, but if it's there now, you hear it. And it goes on and on and on. Well, the reticular activating system, which is the filter, which is a bundle of nerves that sits at the base of the brain, actually filters out things that we don't find important or that we're not interested in. And the way that our brain determines what that is by what we give the most attention to. What we talk about the most, self-talk, especially about ourselves, is telling the brain, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I'm about. Well, the problem is when you say that I can't, your brain goes out and finds everything to back that up. It's just the way it's built. It's the perfect search engine. It tops Google in every way. So when you sit up and say, I can't, it goes out and finds every reason why you can't. It's going to support you. That's why when you're having a conversation or debate with someone and you got a stance and they got a stance, it seems like everything that supports your stance all of a sudden appears in your email, appears in that, because you've set your reticular activating system on a high priority alert for things because the passion in which you engage the debate creates an energy level. The higher the energy level when you are engaging any type of stimuli, information, or conversation, gives more gravity to that, and it also embeds it deeper into your psyche. That's why the more energy you have when you're learning, the more you retain. But the thing is, when you're sitting up and you're saying something and you're emphatic about it, that debate you had on what, whether, who's the greatest running back, all of a sudden you're going to see, if you thought Barry Sanders was, if you thought Emmitt Smith was, whatever, you're going to find things to support this. He had more runs over 20 yards than he had, but he had more overall yardage if you're pulling for this guy. And you're going to find these things, and that makes for poor research because it's biased and it's influenced. But you want bias when you're trying to create your reality. You want a lot of positive and a little negative to bring balance. And why do you need a lot of positive and a little negative? Because negative information, negative thoughts, negative words have greater density. What do I mean? They have greater gravity. It is estimated based on scientific research that for every, say for instance, in a specific area, you're thinking about starting a business, and someone comes along and says, your business is not going to work. So many out of every so many businesses fail within the first, whatever the statistics are now. I don't look at those statistics because I don't run by it. But I know they exist because I've studied them. But there are statistics that tell you that, it's a good chance that when you start a business, it'll fail within the first 2 to 5 years. Okay, so they come tell you that. Now that's a negative. So now you're thinking, man, if I start, there's a good chance it's going to fail. You know how many times you have to go and engage information that tells you your business has a chance to succeed to offset that one negative conversation? 17 times you're going to have to replace that negative with a positive to bring balance. So really 18 times to put it over into the positive. That's why you want to guard your circle, the people you have around you and I'm not talking about not being realistic. I'm talking about, in order to go out and do things that most people aren't doing, you can't think like most people. You cannot sit up and do things like most people. You have to completely change the way you approach life. If you want something out of life that exceeds what is known as average, what exceeds is known as mediocre, then you have to be willing to put more into something than the other person is. You can't view life through a secular or cultural paradigm of average and mediocrity and expect greatness to come out of it. You got to step back and say, I'm going to feel odd. I'm going to feel different. I'm going to feel isolated. A lot of people are going to look at me and say I'm crazy. A lot of people are going to look at me and say I'm not making sense. I'm not going to be reasonable and rational and logical to a lot of people. But see, that's just it. Logic comes from a collective idea of what should be. And the collective idea of what should be right now is everybody pretty much along the same line. We teach our kids to be average by the way we educate them. We sit them all down. We grade them on the same standard. We don't let them live in their unique genius. We don't allow them to stand up and be who they are. We want them to fit into a box that they can be, so that they can be plugged in to these corporate machines and do what is necessary there, instead of living inside of what it is they are designed to do and functioning in their genius. And I've said this before, if you heard me, there's absolutely nobody on this planet that does not have a genius, that does not have a gift. I don't care if you have autism. I don't care if you're you have Down syndrome. I don't care if you've been declared mildly mentally retarded. I don't care if you had an issue with absentee fatherhood, absentee motherhood, being an orphan, coming from poverty. It does not matter. What does matter is, what do you think of yourself? What do you believe about yourself? What do you demand of yourself? Have you raised the standards of excellence in your life to say, this is my standard. I will not accept anything less of myself. Where are you at? But what I can tell you is that what you're telling yourself, that thing, that supercomputer between your mind that can do some exceptionally extraordinary things, the most of which very few of us have even tapped into. And you'll find that those that really seek to exploit the genius within their mind tend to do some pretty exceptional and extraordinary things. And this is not anything supernatural. There is no one person or one type of people that are favored in this world. This universe favors those of faith who believe in their design, who believe in their designer, who believe in their purpose, who believe in pushing through, who believe that what they are here for is greater than any struggle, any difficulty, any challenges that they will face in life. They have made up in their mind that they're willing to go the distance, and they're willing to push through any kind of pain, difficulty, discomfort that they engage. Those are the people. Let me put it another way for you. You have some people who are going to wake up waiting on an opportunity to be given to them, and you're going to have other people who are going to wake up and find that opportunity. And if that opportunity, for whatever reason, does not yet exist, they will create it. They will get up and determine within themselves that they're going to have it, and life is not going to stop them. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have difficulty. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get knocked down. I have been knocked down multiple times. I am in a great sense of travail now as I push through something. But I know, and see, that's the awesome part about this thing. I can tell you because I've been there multiple times. See, I'm the person that they told that while I wrote well, I could never publish because what I was trying to publish didn't have a large enough audience. Well, in the next few weeks, I will be publishing book number 20. I was the one that told where you're coming from. You can't be a business owner. You need to be thinking about what you're going to do and trying to get ready to get yourself a job. And now I'm about to launch business endeavor number 48. And it doesn't mean that every part of my life is great or where I want it to be right now. Sometimes you got to be willing to take some chances, some risks. The one thing I can tell you is I've studied the best in every area, in the area of relationships, in the area of wealth, in the area of motivational speaking, in the area of life change, and all in inspiration, and all these other areas of life where people are really functioning and doing exceptional things. I've studied every last one because that should be the standard. Whoever is doing the greatest should set the standard. That should be what everybody's striving for. You should not be, because you have genius in you. You might not do it the way they do it because you're not them, and that's okay. You don't need to do it that way, but you should be doing it in such a way that people recognize you. The worst thing that can happen is to live this life, put in 80 or 90 years on this planet, and leave, and nobody know you were here. That is the ultimate and most devastating failure you can have, is to live a life that had no impact on the world around you. You are not here to exist. You're not here to survive. You're not here. You're here to thrive. You're here to make an impact. You're here to be felt. If your presence isn't being felt, that means you're not properly accessing and activating your genius, and you're not applying yourself in the proper way. And again, that goes back to the way you think. What are you saying to yourself? You know, I'm just trying to make it. Not good. I wish life would give me more opportunities. I'm not very good at this. I can't do that. Can't should never even be in your vocabulary when you're talking about what's possible for your life. You should never, ever use that word, because that sets limitations like no other word I know. Stop setting limitations and start going after things. Am I telling you it's going to be easy? That is not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that when you challenge yourself, it's going to get tough. You're going to run into obstacles. Life, but here's the thing is, when you try to hide and find that place of comfort in your life, do you really escape the vicissitudes of life? No, they find you anyway. You're going to have pain. Here's the difference though. When you know who you are, when you stop the negative self-talk that ends up being the program that you're running on your supercomputer, your brain, and you are now producing this life that comes from your self-talk. You're literally living the reality of what you're speaking in your life consistently. Now, what happens is most of you get that in some area of your life. Some of you have some part of your life that you're real good at, that you'll catch people talking negative self-talk in that area, and you'll check them. You know, people who speak death on themselves or speak sickness on themselves, and you're a person that never speaks that in your life. You never speak that, and you'll check them. But then you'll turn around and talk about limitations in your area of wealth building, in your area of entrepreneurship, in your area of working on your marriage. You'll speak negatively in that area because you haven't developed the right expectations and the right mindset based on some past experiences or whatever you have that have set how you translate and interpretate life in that area. You have to deal with that. You've got to go back and reshape memories, create new interpretations, which become new memories, which set new beliefs that align with what you want out of life. If your beliefs don't align with what you desire, they're just wishes, because it will never happen. If you don't have a belief system that aligns with what you say you want, it will never happen, because it's just a wish until your beliefs match it, because you can never do beyond what you believe you can. I think it was Henry Ford that said the person who believes that they can't and the person who believes that they can are usually both right. It's because you set the parameters of your performance based on your beliefs. And what your self-talk is simply an outward expression of your beliefs. You have to shift the paradigms that form the lens through which you look through life, that demand or tell you what it is you're doing. Last thing. I believe it was Albert Einstein, and I may be somewhat misquoting him, but you should get the gist of it. It was Albert Einstein that said that you can never solve a problem by using the same thinking that created it. And I see this often where people are literally sitting up and trying to solve a problem they created by using the thinking that created the problem. When you have a problem that you've gotten yourself into, the first thing you have to look at is identify the thinking which created the habits and the behavior that caused the problem. Now you've got to replace that thinking with new ideas, new thoughts that are diametrically opposed to the original thinking. And then when you replace that thinking, now you are functioning from a new paradigm, a new lens through which you view life, a new lens through which you interpret everything you encounter, a new lens that will set the paradigm and the platform, the platform and the foundation for new behavior, new responses, the ability to adjust to the challenges that you are facing. And what I want you to do over the next several weeks, I'm going to be actually looking to take on, I've cleared my calendar, and I'm looking to take on 10 new clients. The link is on here for the site. The site is actually Rick Wallace Ph.D. .link. And you can go on there, you can click on the Life Change Courses and Programs tab, or hover over it, and it'll be a drop-down menu with the top courses that I offer. And most of those are personal engagement courses where you work directly with me. But there are also a program, that's one program, and the link for that program is here, and that's the Power of Paradigms. It's a real simple yet empowering program that you do over the course of 30 days that will allow you to change those foundational thoughts that create self-talk, that creates these paradigms, that creates this way that you look at life. And I'm telling you, this is not magic. I can tell you that there are certain things. And the thing is, the bigger the reversal of a positive direction into a negative mindset, and it happens to all of us. Let me make that clear. The greater the reversal or the movement into a negative mindset, which creates negative behavior, the greater and more emphatic that is, the more it will take to reverse it. It's like anything else. You are the reflection of your thoughts. Your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. I tell people, matter of fact, one book that I've written is a book that says that your mind is the genesis of your destiny. And it simply means that everything originates in here. You're creating your future reality in here consistently with what you think. One of the greatest books that outlines that in a simple context is James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, written, I think, in 1903, a book I read some time ago growing up, and just started the progress of trying to understand how you literally, while it literally can be understood now, at multiple levels, when you look at quantum physics and how quantum physics provides a huge explanation of how powerful your thoughts really are in moving actual physical matter. Unbelievable what we're able to do when we really realize that our thoughts are emitting energy. Everything on this planet is energy. There's absolutely nothing. The pencil that's sitting on your desk right now, just laying there, is actually made up of atoms that you can break down into subatomic matter and find energy. You can also find consciousness in it, the mind of God and everything around you. But that's on another level. Sometime we'll talk about that in a more in depth. But what we must understand is that our mind is the genesis of our destiny, that our thoughts are the seeds that we're planting, and that we have a responsibility, first of all, to plant seeds that will produce a harvest that we desire. Most of us are planting seeds that will produce exactly what we say we don't want to, because we have negative thoughts, we have negative self-talk, creating negative expectations. That's the way it works. You have these thoughts that are negative, and then you speak on it consistently. I can't do this. I'm not good at this. That'll never work. I can't. Why? I don't know why that would work. It never works. That only works for. All of these different things that you sit up and say consistently create a belief or a paradigm. And that paradigm, the lens through which you look, is why you're interpreting things. That's why you won't go after certain things. That's why you don't. God is never going to meet you beyond the level of your expectations. What you expect out of life is what you're getting, period. There's I can say that 50 million different ways. Trust me, I can. And it's going to boil down to the same thing. You're only going to get what you expect out of life. Not what you want, but what you expect. See, we can want $1 billion, but if all we're expecting is the 40,000, 50,000 that we're getting paid every month, that's all we're going to get. It's not until you start saying that's what I want and I expect it, because I know that if I do what I'm supposed to do, if I follow the protocol and the pattern. See, the thing is with success and failure, Everything is rhythmic in this universe. The universe is rhythmic. It moves in rhythm. And the people who are able to perceive rhythm the best are going to actually be able to respond to it when they're functioning in a pure sense or a pure state. The problem is most people aren't functioning in a pure state. Most people are stressed out. Most people are anxious. Most people are dealing with traumatic experiences that they haven't probably properly dealt with. Most people are dealing with a constant barrage of negativity that tells them more about what they can't do than what they can do. So they're not functioning in this purity. So very few people are able to use the rhythmic capacity that they have within them that comes from their pineal gland to actually engage life's opportunities. So we miss a lot of it. But the bottom line is that when the universe is creating these rhythms, you have to be able to be in sync with those rhythms. There's an energy that's being created. You're on the wrong frequency from what you're saying you want, you'll never have it. If you're functioning in low frequencies and low vibrations, and what you're talking about you want is on a high frequency and a high vibration, and like energy attracts like energy, what are your chances of getting it when everything you're operating is on a low frequency, which has the negativity, the pessimism, and all of the other things that just say what you can't have, until you develop in your mind that you can. And then you sit up and say that you want another book that I read that was just completely awesome. Real simple book, easy read. You can read it in a day. The Alchemist. The Alchemist was written by Paulo Coelho. And it's a real simple story about a guy, a young boy's quest to fulfill his dream, his destiny. He gets told about something. He drops his little sheep herding business, and he makes a move to go travel into Egypt and find this treasure that supposedly belongs to him. And over the course of this, he starts to develop an understanding and a passion and a belief that he's going to get it. And it didn't start that way. It started with him, but he had enough desire that was strong enough to say, it's out there, I'm gonna go get it. And the more he went after it, the bigger the belief, the stronger the belief became, and the more happened. And the common theme throughout the book is that when you desire something strongly and you make up in your mind that you can have it, and at that time you commit to going after it, at that moment the universe conspires on your behalf to bring it to you. And I can tell you that it works absolutely every time. It's the way that the grand designer of the universe created the universe to operate. It operates on your energy. If you put out negative energy, it will bring it back to you. If you put out low expectations, you will get exactly what you're expecting. But if you raise your standards, if you raise your level of expectation, if you raise the energy and effort that you put into things, I'm not telling you it's going to happen overnight. I'm telling you, you're going to have to fight through some things sometimes. I'm telling you, you're going to have to hit some bumps in the road sometimes. But what I'm telling you is, here's the thing. The bumps in the road you're going to hit, the getting knocked down on your back, the risk of losing things to gain something is the price you pay. Here's what happens when you don't. What you at least have a chance of having, and I know for a fact that if you actually go at it and don't give up and you put everything into it, you'll get it. But just say you just have a chance at getting it. Well, if you don't go after it, you have absolutely no chance at getting it. And you stick yourself in a situation in which you know you're not happy at, which totally eats at you over time and shortens your life, diminishes the quality of life that you're living, and basically marginalizes your impact on the world around you. And that's not why you're here. You're here to make a difference. You're here to actually show the world what's possible. You here to deal with all of that. Mitchell Coleman, I don't know if you're still on here, but I don't know if you're still on, but you're saying you need to deal with anxiety. The first thing you have to do is you have to start speaking thoughts of calm, control your breathing, square your shoulders, hold your head up. Hold your head up, square your shoulders, slow your breathing, and speak positively about the things that are causing your anxiety. Whatever it is, if, say for instance, you are a married person and you are concerned about the state of your marriage, lift your head up, square your shoulders, and say, I have the capacity to positively impact my marriage. I will save my marriage. I will love my husband. I will love my wife. I will provide an environment for growth. Okay, it's legal. Understand that there are certain things in life, again, the same thing, square your shoulders, lift your head. And understand that there are certain things in life that you do control, certain things in life that you don't control. It is the focus on the things you don't control that creates anxiety. When you look at it and say, okay, here comes some legal situations. This is what I know. That nothing in this life can destroy me and nothing in this life can stop my destiny. Why? Because by the very definition of destiny, I am destined to be there if I simply refuse to quit. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have difficulty. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to run into pitfalls. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to get knocked down. What I know, though, is if I get back up, if I dust myself off and if I continue my push, there's absolutely nothing in this world that can stop me. The very definition of destiny tells me that the more something attempts to stop me, the more someone attempts to stop me, the more they guarantee that I will achieve my destiny. Every obstacle in front of me is a part of my destiny. And I know I'm built for this. So you look yourself in the mirror, you square your shoulders, you raise your head, and you say to yourself, I'm built for this. There's absolutely nothing the world can throw at me that I can't happen. Just sit up. If that's what it is, a government pardon, first of all, what you have to do with that is make sure in your mind and in your heart, you've pardoned yourself. Or if it didn't happen, become okay with knowing that they wrongly accused you for something you didn't do. And what it has done is it's made you stronger. What it has done is it made you more focused. It's made you more intent. It's made you more persistent. It's increased your endurance. It's given you a will to stand up and fight. And that absolutely nothing they ever do one way or another can change who you are on the inside. When you start looking externally for people to validate you, whether it's validate your innocence, validate your freedom, or give you what you feel you need, you give them your power. Now, if they, I can understand if you want the partner, say you want it, but you've got to first claim inside of yourself, hey, look, if they give it to me, awesome. If they don't, I'm gonna be okay because I have my character and my integrity intact. I'm building something that will be so strong that even if they don't give me that, people will look at me and know who I am. That's something you control. You operate in areas that you control. You acknowledge the things you can't. You observe them, you pay attention to them, but don't relinquish your personal sovereignty to things you have no control over. A lot of people, something I had to train myself to do, a lot of people with the emergence of smartphones sell their sovereignty every morning because the first thing they do when they wake up is grab their phone. And how are you selling your sovereignty? Well, smartphones were designed to give you boosts of dopamine. That's why you have all these different things on it that when you check it, if you got a lot of likes, your dopamine release. If you got phone calls or a message, dopamine release. You got that email you wanted, dopamine release. You got games on it you play that you like to play, dopamine release. You got your favorite social media network that you go on and you get the dopamine release. And what happens is, though, what you don't realize is you surrender your sovereignty to what's happening on that phone. Now your happiness, your state, your emotion is all dependent upon what's on that phone. Take the first hour of your day, the first 30 minutes to the first hour of your day, and set your state based on what you feel about you, your own personal confidence in your destiny, your own personal confidence in your future, your own personal confidence in what you're going to obtain in life before you ever go off into what's happening in the outside world around you. Set your state. Why? Because if it's something bad on that phone, when you pick it up, you're ready for it. It doesn't set your emotional state, your physical state, your psychological state for the entire day. You go into it, you say, wow, wasn't expecting that, but I've got it. When you set your state and your state says, you know what, there's nothing I'm going to face today that I'm not built for. The first thing I tell myself every time I wake up in the morning is I'm built for every challenge. Then I say, what am I? I'm grateful. I have a heart of gratitude. I don't care what's going on in my life. I'm grateful. Why? Because life could be a whole lot worse than it is right now. And I know that because I've been there. So first of all, I'm grateful. And the thing I'm grateful for, I don't need to make a long list because it starts with my wife. You may not have a wife, but what is it are you grateful for your career and your accomplishments? Are you grateful that you should have been dead like me back when you were a teenager, but you're still alive at 50? Or what are you grateful for? Before you start talking about all the stuff out there that's wrong, find out what you're grateful for. Why are you grateful? When you have a heart of gratitude, it sets a state of mind that prepares you to deal with anything that you're going through in life. You've got to set your state before you start moving into something else. But we sell our sovereignty, we give up our sovereignty to things that we have no control over. That's why we feel helpless. We give our sovereignty to jobs we hate. We give our sovereignty to how many likes we get on Facebook, how many shares we get or retweets we get. We give our sovereignty to what somebody else thinks about us. We give our sovereignty to the random opinions of others. We give our sovereignty, our personal sovereignty, that things that says I have control over my life. We give it to so many things except for where it belongs inside of us, managed and controlled by us. And when you learn how to manage your personal sovereignty, a bunch of the things that have you anxious, that have you stressed. I get accused sometimes of not being concerned because I don't become shaken and frenetic. I don't become unglued. I don't. And it's not that I'm not aware of what's happening. I simply know I'm built for it. I simply know if I just stay the course, if I continue to fight, I'm going to get through it. And the other thing is, I don't expect ease because I didn't choose a road of ease. I didn't choose a road that would just be all peaches and cream. First of all, it doesn't exist. It's an illusion. Second of all, traveling down the road that seems easy never produces what I want. I've learned that I can pretty much go get whatever. And if there's something I really want, I'm going to have it. Now, how long it takes me to get it, who knows? But the thing is, once I get on the treadmill, I'm not getting off. That's an analogy I got from Will Smith. He stood up and, he said, and this is life. Will says that I might not be the smartest, I might not be the most talented, but you will not outwork me. You can take someone who's more gifted than me, has more resources than me, knows more people than me, has everything it needs to be successful, and you can put us on a treadmill. And one or two things are going to happen. They're going to either get off before me, or I'm going to die on that treadmill. And that's the way I approach life. I can't quit. It's not in my DNA. I don't relent. I think I've shared this with you before. If you go to any crowd or any place or organization where I've spoken multiple times, and you see me walk on the stage, the first thing that they're going to start chanting is no surrender, no retreat, because it's a part of my message. I don't give in. No surrender, no retreat is my mantra for life. I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going backwards. I'm not retreating. You may push me backwards, but I'm not going to run. I'm going to face it off. I'm going to fight through it. I'm going to get through it. Life is not going to surrender anything to you worthwhile by you sitting there taking the easy way or whining, crying, complaining, backing up. You take it on, you face it up, and you do everything you can, and you don't give up. You're going to, and the thing is, anything worth having packs a punch. So when you go after it, you're going to get hit. You're going to maybe get knocked down. You're not defeated until you stop breathing. If you're still breathing, you're still in the game. If you're still in the game, you're in it to win it. Get up, dust yourself off, hold your head up, square your shoulders, tell yourself, I'm built for this. I'm not telling you something I read in some book or some course I took. I'm telling you something that I've developed and understood and learned over years of encountering challenges, of things people told me could not be done. And I have yet come to one that I didn't do. Now, I'm not saying I lined them up and just knocked them all down. Now, that was a time in my life where I had the full momentum. And you can do this. You can build this spiritual, emotional, psychological, and energetic momentum to where stuff just starts to fall in a row. I had that in my life. But then when you allow that to get disrupted by your thinking, sometimes it comes from a place of arrogance. You get so caught up in self that you start making real poor decisions because you don't feel you can be beaten, you know, and you leave yourself open. You get the crap knocked out of you, takes you off your momentum. And it may take a while to build that momentum back up. But see, the one thing you understand, if you built that momentum, is that there's nothing that can stop you from building it again. And you go after it and you do it until you get it. I'm telling you, there's absolutely nothing you can't do. The only limitations you have in your life are the ones you accept with your mind. And I will accompany that by saying, no, it doesn't come easy. It does not come easy. But what I can tell you is if you apply yourself, if you decide within yourself, if you sit up and determine that this is what I expect, you'll get what you expect. If you determine you can have it. See, when you started setting your expectations, that means there's something inside of you that says there's a reason why I can have this. And you don't have to have all the answers. That's something that Les Brown says all the time. When you're determined you're going to go after this great thing, that you're going to raise your standards, that you're going to do something you've never done before, you're going to do some things that very few people have done before, you're going to go to new heights in life, and you're making that decision. At the time you're making that decision, how you're going to do it is absolutely none of your business. Why is that? Well, whenever you're getting ready to graduate in life, to do something you've never done before, I can almost guarantee you that the things you need to do it and the person you need to be, you're not that yet. You don't have all the answers yet. You don't have the knowledge or the expertise yet. You haven't met the right people yet. You haven't studied the right information yet. All of these different things that is going to be required for you to actually have what you set this new standard for may not be there. So if you make your decision based on being able to determine how it's going to be done, you're never going to get started. Why? Because you haven't become it yet. You don't have it all yet. It's not there in your actual access yet. But what you do is set up in your mind that if I want it, if I can conceive it in my mind, that's God's evidence that it's possible, and I can have it. If I can conceive it in my mind, I don't care how outlandish everybody else thinks it is, if I can conceive it in my mind, I can have it. And so then you start to go for it. And that's when providence moves. That's when things that were hidden behind the veil start to become uncovered. And you start to get answers that were there, but you didn't see. You start to notice that the person you've been riding the train with every day happens to be a person that's an expert in the area that you're trying to move into, or know someone who's willing to get financially behind your idea, or whatever the situation is. But you've been sitting there all the time saying, you know, being cordial and courteous with them, but never ever engaging them. And all of a sudden now they reach over and say something to you after you make the commitment. That person you pass by every day in Starbucks that you just nod at and say hello real kindly and gently stops and asks you one day, well, what is it you do after you make that decision? What is it you're doing? What is it that you're passionate about? And you have a conversation to find out that's the exact person you need to meet. You've been talking to them for the last 2 years. As you pass by, you've been speaking to them in Starbucks. I'm telling you about things I've personally experienced. When you set your mind to do something, and you determine in your heart, the deepest recesses of your soul, that is yours and you're going to have it, providence moves. The universe begins to conspire on your behalf. Everything starts to fall in line. I'm not telling you it's going to be, you're going to have to do your work, but the universe is starting to bring it closer to you. Now you're starting to get a clearer vision of what it looks like. Why? Because the universe is working with you. This is not for the squeamish, but you got to start building a mindset that guards your self-talk. Remember, your self-talk is the program that your supercomputer, your brain, will run. Your mind is constantly eavesdropping on your self-talk. When you sit up and say, I can't, your mind hears you. And your mind works to reinforce that belief. You have to put in the effort of guarding. And there's some things that I teach to help people arrest their negative self-talk. And like I said, I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks, be working to bring 10 new clients in. If you're interested, and I'm going to tell you now, I do require that you invest in yourself. I don't have a bunch of cheap stuff to offer somebody for fillers. I'm talking about life change that literally changes the entire course of your life and produce. See, the one thing I love about it is people will come to me and say, this is what I want. And it's this one thing that they want that they, on the very edge of their belief systems, believe is possible, but don't know how to get it. So because they don't know how to get it, they've said, I can't get it unless I get here and I figure this out. So they come to me and it's this one thing they want. My goal isn't just to get them that one thing, because see, I can walk them through a process, because they're just patterns that lead to certain things. If you follow the patterns of Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Jack Vogel, a number of the other, David Swenson, all these guys that are major players in the investment game, if you follow their patterns, they've literally got a pattern. I've studied it, I know it, and I share it on my financial investment site, Bitcoin Brain Trust, which actually goes way more into just that. And it's something that I've started to follow. There's a difference in revenue generation and building of wealth. There's a difference in financial independence and financial freedom. There's a difference. I don't care how much money you make. If you're having to work for it and you're having to be involved in something to make it happen, you're not wealthy. You're rich if you've got a certain amount of money and you can buy whatever you want, do whatever. You may be rich, but wealth says, I can stop doing this today, and what I've created will work for me. And those guys do that. And what it is while everybody looks at Warren Buffett and say he's a financial genius, he started by reading and researching and taking courses from Dale Carnegie and so on and so on. And he built that. He wasn't that person when he was born. He built it. He built the mindset. And so did David Swenson. Ray Dalio manages the largest hedge fund in the world, $165 billion hedge fund. He manages and he provides and produces. He wins every year for his investors. And I think himself worth $15 billion. And he does that. He's got a great book out now called Principles, Ray Dalio Principles, Life and Business, or something like that. He's a beast. But all of these guys got these patterns, and when you look at it, the pattern is the same. And even while investment strategies are different, the pattern is the same. So you look at success. Every person that's done something great, there was a pattern that they followed, a blueprint. The blueprint is there. So I can take a person that comes to me and say, this is what I want to do, put them on a blueprint and get them there. The problem is when they leave, the next thing they want to do, they'll have to come back. What I do is sit up and I change their thinking about themselves. Because what I can tell you is I can take a person that has I can give a person a perfect blueprint. And if I'm not there pushing them all the way through the way to get that blueprint done, and I just give it to them, and it's a perfect blueprint that if they just simply follow it, they're going to get what the result is. I can take that person, then take another person, change their thinking about life, tell them that there's anything that they want to do in life, they can do it. They just have to go out and figure it out. And I turn those two people loose. The person with no blueprint is going to win 95% of the time, solely on believing in themselves and understanding if I don't have the answer, I'll find it. Now they'll bump their heads. That'll take a little longer than if they had a blueprint, but the mindset, the psychology behind it is far more important than the strategy. What you think about yourself, what you believe about yourself. I did not mean for this to go this long. It's been an hour, but for the people who dropped in and dropped out, I hope you got something. Definitely share this with people. Again, you know, if you're really at a point in a stage in your life where you want to see something different in your life, contact me. You can go, the Power of Paradigms course is, you know, a course that you can take at Ardor. And the wonderful thing about that, that's one way to actually get contact with me without getting into a one-on-one engagement program with me where you're working with me on a regular basis, but you will get to deal with me at least twice during the course of that program that you're going to walk yourself through, but you're going to get to deal with me initially. We're going to make an initial assessment of where you're at, where you want to go, what's going on. We're going to identify your limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about ways to get through it. Then you're going to take the course. And then when you come back, we're going to make another assessment at the end of the course, and we're going to evaluate it and talk about the next steps that you can take to further your life. But at the end of the day, this is what's going to have to happen. You're going to have to make some changes in the way you think. You cannot produce different situations with the same beliefs. You cannot fix current problems with the same thinking that created them. You can talk about it all day. You can sit up and say what you want to say, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to be willing to change the way you think. Again, go to the site, find where you fit in, but whatever you do, and maybe some of you have everything already figured out, but I can tell you there are people I contact, and we talk. And you need those type of people. You also need to have that major point in time in your life where you shift gears. You create a paradigm shift. You go from being a victim to being a victor. You go from being a person who believes life is happening to them to a person that understands life is responding to them. You make these shifts, and when you make these shifts, life changes. You stop feeling anxious. You stop feeling frustrated. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You stop becoming frenetic and unglued. There's so much that you have power over that you've surrendered. That's that selling of sovereignty again. Some of you are giving sovereignty to your boss. Some of you are giving sovereignty to the fear of a broken marriage. Oh man, we give a sovereignty to fear all the time. And the wonderful thing that I learned when I studied fear is there's a saying, I cannot remember who said it. When you engage in so much, sometimes you just lose sight of maybe who said it. I'm normally pretty good with it, but maybe it was Norman Vincent Peale. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was Norman Vincent Peale that says that when you travel to the center of fear, you find that there's nothing there but fear feeding on itself. And that fear, but the problem is when you let fear feed on itself, it becomes this big illusion that will freeze you in your tracks. And you will sit there. That's one of the greatest causes of procrastination. It's the fear of failure, the fear of what someone's going to say about you, the fear of what you cannot predict and project, the fear of people laughing at you. All of those things will keep you held in check. I could care less what somebody feels about what I'm dreaming and what I'm going after. Why? They're not living it. And I guarantee you, when I get to the end of my life, anybody that took the time to try to hold me in check cannot be where I'm at, because you cannot be chasing what your destiny says while you're trying to hold somebody back to make you feel comfortable. Because that's what it's all about. When you start living a life based on what you expect in the area of greatness, you're going to start convicting a bunch of people that were in that same pool of mediocrity. Because all of the excuses that they were given, see, they're a lot like you. They didn't know their father. They're a lot like you. They were abused as a child. They were a lot like you. They were told that they couldn't learn. They were a lot like you. They come from this and that, and it went through this and that. And they've used all of that as an excuse of why they don't have. And then when you coming from that same pool start to rise, you convict them of their mediocrity, and you tell them and convict them of the fact that there are no excuses. So you're going to have people that ain't feeling what you're doing because you convict them of where they're at. Rise up and live at the level of your design. Not what somebody told you. Not some box somebody stuck you in. Rise up and live at the level of your design. Like I said, I love to work with some of you guys. Right now, I've reserved at the end of the year 10 spots over the next couple of weeks that I'm looking to fill. I'm looking for people who are really seriously committed to changing their lives, to really truly commit to doing the things that are necessary to open up a world of possibilities, and with an idea and a goal that when they advance themselves, they're going to touch other people. That's what I want. I want people who are not just looking to serve selfish desires, but looking to enjoy life and get everything they can out of life, but also to impact the world around them. That's what we need. We need people who will leave this world in a better place than when they found it. And I want to help as many people as possible do that. So again, reach out, and if you're really serious about doing that, I would love to talk with you and see if you qualify for what I have going on. Nothing else, check out that Power of Paradigms. Again, like I say, that's at least 2 sessions with me, but an entire program laid out for you that you can literally get started on in a matter of days. However long it takes for me to get it out. I'm actually looking to put it online so it's even easier to access. That'll happen sometime in January, but in the meantime, you can have that program and be working on it. Oh man, it's quadrupled the value of what you're paying for it, easily. I mean, and that value will be realized in a very short period of time. With that being said, I got to get out of here. That is a lot I have going on. Like I mentioned in the video, just recently set the wheels in motion for business number 48, business endeavor number 48. So very short time frame until we get to actual launching of the business, and so a lot of work to be done, but again, something to keep me driven and excited while still dealing with all this other stuff I have going on. So it's not like I say, okay, I got rid of a few things, I'm gonna start something new. But I just believe in doing something when it feels right, and if it's something I really am passionate about, I get involved. That's something else. I don't do things I'm not passionate about it. Life is too short. There's only 86,400 seconds in a day. I want to spend that time doing something I love, because I won't get that time back. With that being said, I'm gonna check out of here. You guys have an unbelievable, awesome day. I hope you enjoyed yesterday. It's time to get back on the grind. It's time to get back to it. There's a lot to be done. Let's make it happen. As I always say, I'm gonna die on E, and I encourage you to do the same thing. I'm out of here. Peace.